wanted to thank everybody for coming out. I mean, on a Sunday, y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all chose to spend some time and check out. Oh, I'm connected to the mic. Talk loud enough? Well, I mean, I'll raise my voice up. It's fine. So, yeah, so once again, you know, you could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all are here, and I really thank y'all and appreciate y'all for that. Myself, Ian, Mann, Premimathieu, Sterlin, we came together with, you know, with my vision. You know, it was, you know, I just had an idea of showcasing the history of what's going on in Broward County. Because thanks to Dr. Marvin Dunn for Black Miami, the 20th century, when I watched his documentary and I read his book about the history of Overtown and Coconut Grove and Liberty City and Little Haiti, it really inspired me to want to know what's going on in Broward County. And then I ended up reading Race and Change in Hollywood, Florida by Kitty Oliver. And once I read that book, that pretty much made me go insane. And then I really started to just go crazy into the history. I was talking to the elders in Northwest Dania Beach, otherwise known as Little Dania, and in Liberia, otherwise now we call Little Africa. And once I started just to read the history, and then that's when I linked up with Ian. I knew Ian from community-based work all throughout Broward and Miami-Dade. And then I linked up with Premimathieu. He's not here, but me and his older brother grew up together. And that's when we came together and we just started making it happen. And again, this was just a surreal moment. I really wasn't expecting this amount of a turnout. There's Premimathieu's mother right there. She just walked in. Okay. And for those interested in the book that got me to this level, Race and Change in Hollywood, Florida by Kitty Oliver, it's for sale. I believe it's $20. $20. And it's not that you can finish this in a day. You know, so yeah, so that's pretty much how everything came about. It's important for us to know the history in our community. A lot of time when it comes to Black history, we all tend to focus on the, I'm sorry.
Oh, everybody turn off your cell phone.
Yeah. All right, when it comes to our history, it's important. We always tend to focus on the Dr. Kings, the Malcolm X's, people that a lot of us already tend to know about, and they are great people, without a question. But it's also important to know who is in your backyard. You know, it's always important to know the names of these streets in your community. You know, when you drive by Fifth and Waiters, which is really supposed to be Boise Waiters Road, understand who Boise Waiters is and what he did for Broward County, being the first Black elected official. When you're seeing these empty fields in the community, understand that these fields used to be once pool rooms. They used to be clubs. They used to be lounges. You know, so it's important to know what's going on in your backyard. And that's what I'm just aiming to do with just showcasing the local Black history, because we got a lot that needs to be told. Dania Beach is Broward's first incorporated city in 1904. And we are home to the first Black community in Broward County, the first incorporated Black community in Broward County. And we are basically akin to what Coconut Grove is for Miami, but for Broward. So Dania Beach, we have a lot of history that needs to be told, and it always gets swept under the rug. For the most part, South Broward in general gets swept under the rug when it comes to Black history. A lot of times people focus on Broward, with all due respect to Sistrum Boulevard, you know, but Dania Beach was the first. And without Dania Beach, you know, Sistrum wouldn't be where it's at today. Miss Leola Collins, who was the secretary and treasurer of the Provident Hospital. You also had many of the doctors and the surgeons at the Provident Hospital. They were from Northwest Dania Beach. So it's important to understand why everything is connected in Black Broward, in these communities. And I'm very thankful for everybody that's here, that's coming out. And again, we are all grassroots, myself, Ian, and Premimathieu. We're all doing this, you know, without any backing. We're just doing this from the bottom of our hearts. And, you know, we have the website up now. It's officially up, blackbrowardmedia.com. You can always check it out. You know, just, you know, going to donate. You know, you can feel free to donate. And also we have business cards. You can check it out. And you can connect with us, to work with us. We are not hard to get a hold of. We are locally in the community. And most importantly with this film is just not to just talk about the past, present, and future, but we also just want to be able to talk about the importance of bridging the gap between elders and millennials. Oftentimes, both sides tend to point the finger at each other as to why things are the way they are. But, you know, we need to understand, we need to come to the table and put our differences aside and fix the problems in our community. Gentrification is happening throughout black communities, not just in Broward County, but Miami, DC, Oakland, New York, you name it. So it's important for us to get involved in our communities, and that's what we're aiming to do by bridging the gap and by most importantly giving back. Ian and Premi and myself, we're aiming to teach local black history to the youth and the teenagers in the communities that we film in. We're not just here to just film and just go on to the next city. We're here to give back as well. We're aiming to teach videography, editing, photography to the youth in the community so they can learn a skill and they can take something and make something out of it. You know, creativity is really important. And for myself growing up, they took a lot of this, the creativity out, the music, the dance classes and all that. And, you know, a lot of us became very indoctrinated and we had like a 9-to-5 mindset. We didn't have any creativity. So we got to keep that for the kids coming up after us. And once again, I thank you for coming out. And I hope that everyone enjoys it. We're going to show the trailer first. And, you know, which is pretty much why I think many people are here today.
I'll just say, as we show the trailer, that's on YouTube. It's available. You can share it. The website's open and free to scroll. Check out just some of the stuff that one of our, he's not here today, Premimathieu, but he put in a lot of work and effort on making sure that our media and everything looks presentable. And yeah, at the bottom of the webpage there is a donate button. Like you said, we have a lot of dreams for the community. It's not just, like you said, coming in, coming out. We're looking to give our youth the tools to be able to tell the stories. We can give the overview, but there's so many, there's the micro within the macro. We have a chance to really let these kids tell their stories, not just documentary-wise, but narratives, short films, feature films. The possibilities are endless, and it really starts with a little bit of help with going to the bottom of the page and I click the donate button. Again, the trailer is free for sharing, but once we get into the preview, the rough cut of the film as we have it, we ask that you just take away your phone, put it away. No Facebook Live, no recording on the phone, no Snapchat, anything like that. Only because we're looking to not only take this story to any librarian in Broward County, but we're looking to take this to film festivals here in the country as well as possible for So we ask that you respect that process.
Yes, and then there will be a slight Q&A after the trailer, and then we're going to go into the sneak preview.
Yes.
Lights off.
There you go.
It was in Rwanda.
Rwanda. So we're both reaching out from all across the world, asking about this project, asking about the trailer, and we just wanted to make sure that we take our time to get the story right. The voice you heard was Denise James. She's a native, or Liberian. She's a Liberian native. She came through with the poetry, kind of brainstormed. I tried to do a little songwriting, so we tried to cook up some words for it, and she just really delivered on it. And the videography, the ministry has all been a part of Premimathieu, myself, Emmanuel. We had more, and just a bunch of other folks that have helped us visually put this together. The editing right now has been consistent mostly with myself, Premimathieu, and Emmanuel, and the help of our producer, Nerissa. She's also not here today, but she definitely keeps us in order. Without her, I think we would.
Yeah, we'll be very disorganized.
We would be,
We get
three men sometimes.
Yeah.
We need some.
You need that woman.
We need that help. So, yeah, if there's any questions regarding the trailer, we'll open for that now. Yes.
Approximately how many elders did you interview, and how old was the oldest?
The oldest that we interviewed, well, the amount of elders we interviewed was maybe about 12 to 15. It was thanks to David Newby Jr. He was the curator and aligning the people that to be in the film. The oldest that we interviewed, he actually passed away about a few months ago. Mr. Adderley, Jacob Adderley, in Northwest Dania Beach. He was about 95 years old, and yeah, he was the oldest that we interviewed in the film, as well as, I think the second oldest, I'm not too sure if it was Albert Jones or Bobby Grace, but and Miss Bird as well, who was married to Chester Bird, who was the first black mayor of Dania Beach. Yes.
Oh, I just want to say, could you come up a little closer, because back here we can't hear you. That's why we're standing now. Yeah, right there.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay, I'll project a little bit.
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Got it.
Speak up.
Okay, I have a technical question there. Is it Dania or Dania?
Okay, well, it's Dania Beach, but when you go to the northwest side of Dania Beach, historically speaking, when you go across the tracks, that was just the nickname that
Oh,
it had.
Yes.
I guess never would have known.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, we definitely were like, yo, you Dania Beach, Dania, and it's getting, when you get that history, you really start to know
Yeah.
not just Dania Beach, across the tracks. Florida and New York, there's stories when you cross the tracks for black communities all across the country. Any other questions?
He told me he was the only speaker.
Any other questions, or yeah?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for seeing the need for this. This gave me so much joy, and I believe, truly, honestly believe that it will give so many people throughout Broward County so much joy, because when people think about Florida, since Miami's a hot party city, they say, Broward is rarely mentioned. So to not only give Broward this platform to say, hey, we're here too and we matter, but to take it a step even further and showing the history, that's truly beautiful, it's truly empowering. So I thank you, Emmanuel, I thank you, Black Broward Film Project. And I'm excited, I can't wait.
Yeah, I think it's excellent too, because seriously, up until the renaming of the streets in Hollywood,
Okay.
I had no clue. I mean, seriously, who knew? And I've been down here 30 years, so it's like.
It's the age of information, and in doing the research on the film, there's plenty of footage and pictures from the Florida Archive, FloridaMemory.com, and going through Chester Bird, Boys and Waiters, you don't see their pictures, you don't see anything about Addis Middle School. A lot of the history of our communities, Miami, Broward, whatever the case for folks of Black Florida, you would say, it's not there. And this is an opportunity to at least start to get that rolling, and that's what I want to get the kids to get the cameras in their hands and start documenting, because there's a rich history, and with, like we're going to talk about education and all that, there's the opportunity that these stories won't be able to be told. So the time is now to kind of get these things started, and we really appreciate you all being out here and being able to also spread the story.
You have a question?
Yes. As a young man, I'm just thinking, I am going to do this. Because I got a call from you one day to come to visit the Gold Strong House, which is about the history of Papa Rand, one of those pockets of African American communities. What inspired you and your group as young people? Because so many of them that, that was back in the old days. You don't want to hear about that old stuff. So what inspired you to take on this?
With me, just growing up, I've always been a bit of a socially aware person. My father was, I'm first generation African American. My parents are from the Caribbean. And what inspired me was, my father was involved in the Black Power movements in the 70s in Dominica. And he was taught by my great-grand-uncle who worked for Marcus Garvey in the UNIA, because they had a chapter in Dominica. My great-grand-uncle was the head honcho of that chapter. So just growing up, I've always just been a fan of history, and when I watched Black Miami in the 20th Century by Marvin Dunn and read the book Black Miami in the 20th Century, that's pretty much what got me started. And then also she's here, Miss Katie Oliver's in the back with the red with the black, yes. She's the one that wrote this book right here. She is another one, and I'm thankful that she considers me as a son, one of her kids. She considers me a son, and that's what basically got me going. Once them two, Marvin Dunn and Kitty Oliver, I'm an offspring of them, and that's what pretty much got me to where I'm at now.
Yes, I just want to say just one thing. My grandfather was born in 1814, and my mother's 97. And so one thing that he told us, he said it was the people that they brought here. First they had the indentured slaves to this country. Then they brought the African slaves in to build buildings and walls and stuff. We built the country, and we did the farming and all the stuff. And so he also said he was with Booker T. Washington. He went to Tuskegee, and he said, make sure that you remember the history. It was the Irish and the Scottish who were the first indentured slaves, and then when they wanted buildings and stuff built, they went back to Africa, to the northern part of Africa, who built Egypt, the Great Wall of Israel and all that stuff, so that they can come here and build this country. So when you think about it, we built this country with a lot of slave labor, not just black slaves, but slaves. Because whoever didn't have any money were the slave to the people who had the money.
He ain't got to tell his story too.
We have, slavery is still real around the world, and we deal with it in subtle ways here in America today. But we can talk about that maybe after the screen a little bit. But my story, I grew up, my grandfather owned a barbershop, so I was always in the barbershop talk here in the community. My mom was a daughter of a guy in the barbershop, so we had always talk and discussion. And while I kind of went there for getting my haircut and everything as a kid, I lived in the suburbs. And my mom, even with that, and kind of not being surrounded in a black community for my life, she was still making effort to come into my predominantly white private school, from like kindergarten to 5th grade, and around December she'd come in with her Santa Claus dress on and read us about Kwanzaa and everything, and I definitely, it stuck in me. It definitely stuck in me. I fought it for a while, but now I realize the importance of those stories and the culture. And I think just in the last few years, and definitely like now in 2018, we appreciate our culture more than ever, I think, as youth right now. And this is just a reflection of that. I've had a camera in my hand since 2010, and these stories, there's nothing like it to be able to mix. You don't have to get the fiction, like the truth is everything you really need. So that's really in the short, long and short of it, story. I love to document these things. I love the history, and I love the culture.
Emmanuel, that's one of the two quick things I wanted to commend you for getting this meeting together so we could learn about our history right here in our backyard. I really appreciate that. I know this is already a great presentation, and we have a great turnout. I want to tell my younger generation of friends, so I see I have a lot of older crowd here. Will there be a follow-up presentation or event so we want to follow you and see more and learn more?
Well, yes. As many may know, it's a sneak preview because again we're entering into film festivals. So, and a lot of these film festivals are some are locally and internationally. So due to that, we can't show it too much. But the full final screening will be done this summer 2018, and be on the lookout for that announcement because it's something that you will definitely not want to miss. So that's when the follow-up will be. And as the lead up to the summer, there will definitely be updates of the film. So again.
Will you can let us know and we'll let our members know.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely.
When it comes out, we'll send out something for our membership, so everybody will know. I will definitely put it on.
Okay. Now, without further ado, I guess it's time to get into the sneak preview. Oh, sorry.
And again, this is just cameras, everything off, rough cut. We want to be able to make sure that we still viable to get requested because there's a lot of safety rules. Again, some of us have fire safety and everything. I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but I hope so.
Is this the lights right here? Because oh, it's in the back.
Want to get the lights?
This is the lights right here, right?
Oh, I gotta turn this on. Shoot, I can't see it. I can't.
Now, David Newby was the one that curated to get the elders to be involved in the film, such as some people are here that were interviewed, like Rodney Collins, Roy Dean, a few other people. There's Rodney Collins. He was the one that's you all seen in the trailer. And sorry. And yeah, we're pretty much just getting the film done for the summer 2018 release. Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask about your technical, like the shots, those zooming shots. What do you use for that?
That's it. Yeah, that's the drum. Everything else was mostly shot off of Canon Z3 eyes, and yeah, we shot this on Canon Z3 eyes.
Great job.
Thank you. This right here, yeah, this is the Greens, otherwise known as the Collins Apartments in Liberia. It's in the northwest section, 24th Avenue, and that's Liberia. And it's still there. It's keeping the community. That's a very integral part of the Liberia community. When we talk about gentrification was happening, one of the first signs of gentrification was when the Crystal Lakes Apartments was tore down. And now Crystal Lakes is basically a gated community. And people who were once there, that was all Section 8. They can't even afford to live there anymore. And now the other part, many of them some went to the Greens, some went elsewhere. And the Greens is basically what's keeping that. And if the Greens go, basically Liberia is pretty much gone.
In fact, when I'm talking about when Crystal Lakes was open originally, like 99.
According to Henry Graham, it was 99% black, Liberia was. And now it's about 50 or 55%. It's about 55% black right now. So the demographics is constantly changing. So, yeah, a lot of non-black Latin folks are coming into the area now. Oh yeah, what's the first?
Where was Providence Hospital located, and when did it start, and when did it go? Is it still there? I don't think it's still there.
Providence, that's in the Fort Lauderdale area, known as Sistrum. And right now, that's kind of going through some issues right now at the YMCA that they're planning to expand. Because they already have a YMCA on 14th Terrace. So, but now it's talks of a mega YMCA going on, and it's going to be basically where the historical black hospital was. Yes. The Collins Apartments, man, that's been there for like the 20s or 1930s. Aaron Hollis is someone that we've seen in the trailer. His family has been in Liberia since, I think, 58 years now? Yeah, 58 years. So, yeah, it's been there for quite some time. Yes?
Has there been any attempt to reach out to the family of Julian Cannonball Adderley?
Oh, speaking of Cannonball Adderley, he taught at Old Dillard Museum. Old Dillard High School, now known as the Old Dillard Museum. Haven't reached out to his family yet. That's more so Fort Lauderdale. When we branch off and end up doing Sistrum's Black History, we'll definitely make sure to reach out to the family and definitely cover him as well, because he's one of the most known saxophonist players of all time.
And that's a real good segue into the fact that later on in the film that Aldridge you speak about the amount of local, or not local celebrities, but national celebrities that visited the Liberia area. We talk about Miami being the Party City, James Brown, Muhammad Ali. They were all hanging out in the Liberia area during their shows, after the shows.
And then I also found out lately that I believe it was, I forgot who was telling me that. I believe it was Henry Graham that was telling me. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was. Oh man, Garnett Beneby. Garnett Beneby was telling me that how Sam Cooke would come to Liberia as well, and Sam Cooke would perform at some of the churches, as well as Eartha Kitt and Jim Brown, the football player, came to Addicts, and many of the kids thought he was going to speak about football, but according to Beneby, he pretty much schooled them on what's going on as of socially at that time. Mary had a question. Yes.
Sure. This is our producer,
That's
Mary, by
yes.
the way. Thank you.
First of all, yay! First of all, can you give a round of applause to these gentlemen up there? Working their pursuits off and who have been doing it really just from the love of their community. So I, of course, have to ask this question. How can we further support you doing this work and continuing this storytelling? Because you did all this for free. Okay. So how can we further support you in getting these stories out there for, telling positive stories about Black Broward? Yes.
Okay, well, thanks to Premimathieu Sterlin, we have a website, blackbrowardmedia.com. You can check it out. You can watch the trailer on there. You can know about us as a team. You can contact us, as well as there's also a donation. Yes. Yes, and we have cards as well. That's all throughout the table.
All of the tables, if anyone's interested.
Yes.
I would recommend that we see the rest. Thank you.
Well, that's the final version of the film will be coming out summer 2018. This summer.
Where do we find them?
Well, we're going to have an announcement, and the announcement will release the actual.
We're submitting to film festivals,
Yes.
so he's being nice about it. I'll tell you the straight story. We're submitting to film festivals, and because of that, we can't release everything at the same. We can't release the whole thing to the public.
Yeah.
So if it was up to him, you all would have seen the whole thing. But because we have a big vision for how we can transform communities through media storytelling, we want to make sure that everybody knows this amazing story that's happening right here in South Florida. So yes, it'll be finished in 2018, but you'll be able to see little snippets of it. So just keep your fingers crossed for us and see us taking this story far and wide.
Yes.
I just want to comment on the video. It's amazing all the history that is presented. My question is, as this partner cities, Dania and Hollywood, what have you done as far as reaching out to get the collaborative efforts from both cities to help promote and unify your message, number one? Number two, you had mentioned on there the upcoming 2018 summer, meaning the film is coming out, but what is your vision, or I guess your goal, as far as preserving the history and educating not just the residents, but our Broward County further? What is your vision, I guess, is mainly, is it going to be in the film upcoming, or how is it that you would consider preserving and educating those that watch this and want to come visit?
Okay, well, in terms of reaching out, it was a process. David Newby Jr., who I mentioned several times, he was the one that basically curated to get the elders involved. There's also millennials that we interviewed as well, because we talk about bridging the gap between young and old. So when it comes to the youth getting involved, I went to high school with a bunch of the people here, and if I didn't go to high school, some of my older cousins may have known some of them, and so on and so on. And then also just in terms of preserving the history, is that what you asked? Mm-hmm. Again, it's preserving the history. Media, film is one aspect. We also just talk about, again, giving back to the community so other people can tell their stories in their ways. And one of the things with history is it's all the perspective on who tells it. So we're also aiming just to inspire youth and teenagers as well, so they can be able to tell their story and be able to inspire people. Because this is Broward County, but you have other small places like Broward County throughout the United States. Tampa has a rich black history that many people do not know about. They had Central Avenue in Tampa, which was a thriving black community. Jacksonville had Sugar Hill, and you had other places in Durham, North Carolina, Black Bottom, Detroit. You know, you had many other places that people do not know about. So this is basically just a reflection, and then can be able to inspire many people to follow that same path. Even if we're not there, we're still there.
And also I'm a strong believer in taking things one day at a time, and we are taking this one project at a time. In a longer term thing, there's plenty of, as we said throughout the day, black communities right here in Broward County, and we look to hopefully be able to help out those communities and document as well. We have one question back from Mr. Collins, and then we'll just do it.
Can I just follow up on it? I just want to recommend that I work with the City of Hollywood, so I am an avenue for you to utilize, and I'm sure that all of my colleagues would too. But I would love to hear your vision and where you want to see it go and how we can make things better and make it strong.
Rodney Collins?
Yeah, question. Will you be submitting the film and the information that you have to the Broward County Historical Society, to the Florida State Historical Operation, and to the African American Research Library in Fort Lauderdale, and to the one in Miami?
Well, yes.
The reason why I ask is if this is not put in places where people can access it, everybody can access it, anytime they want to, every time they come across it, then it will be a very good effort, but no one will know about it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
nobody hear about you.
I'm a firm believer in archiving the history, because myself, I end up finding people like Kitty Oliver and Marvin Dunn through searching and reaching out to people. That's how I end up finding out people like yourself and what your families contributed to the Dania Beach area, as well as many other elders in Liberia and throughout Broward County. So yes, I'm definitely a firm believer in archiving and preserving it, because who's to say 20, 30 years from now, there might be another young, aspiring filmmaker that want to know what's going on in their community. And then they look and then they find Ian's name, my name, Premimathieu's name, and we might be long gone already. But they're able to. Well, I mean, you know, it's just that. Yeah. All right, Gary. Yes.
I got a question. It was pertaining to what she was asking earlier. After it does receive award at the film festival.
Yes.
We will have it available for distribution at that time. So that's our goal. So if we could all just take a moment and see us accepting an award.
We got a question in the back, and yes.
In your research, I'm wondering if you could tell us who emerged as your hero.
Oh, man. All right, yeah, I could say that there's too many to name. Yeah, there's too many to name, but just thankful to everyone that was part of the film. You know, because they contributed a lot in so many ways. Some of them contribute through business, through education, through just being a storyteller. So, you know, again, so it's I just got to thank them all. And it's the community in general, because I really have to thank them, because they're the ones that pretty much agreed and reached and were like, okay, you guys can do this. They could have easily turned and said, you know what, we don't want you guys to do no filming and this and that. So they agreed, and I just got to thank everyone, from the pioneers to the millennials.
Just a question about the content, because it is also about gentrification, right? And I think that's something to be highlighted, especially in the figures that are here. For example, the Hollywood Vice Mayor. That this is about a community, right? The arts of a community trying to highlight and fight back this system that often destroys communities. And so when you were talking about these apartments that get torn down, I think it's also important to highlight that this is also about fighting back and keeping that beautiful history and that beautiful tradition. And so I wanted to ask Emmanuel if you could mention a little bit of the things that you would like to see, the power structures that often agree to the development that you know what they do. And maybe mention something about Liberia and Dania, because that's like one of the key points of this thing, right? Fighting back and then keeping the community.
That's a very poignant point. And in doing this research, I agree that gentrification is happening across the country. And it's very hard to me that have this history just like any of my areas. However, one main point that we want to take away from the film is that pioneers, youth, we have to get involved, not only socially, but also going to your city hall meeting, making sure you know what's going on. Because we talk about gentrification and anyone coming in and all these things. That was passed through by one of the folks that we interviewed in the film. So the gentrification, Dania Point, all that got passed by someone that grew up in the community. So it's not like the man, like I mean, it's the man, but it's also the man was given the pass to somebody that lived in the community. So we can't always break it down as the powers that be are just coming down on us. It's a financial opportunity, Dania Point. There's a balance to it, but we just have to make sure that we're involved, politically engaged, going to city hall meetings. He talks about strategy of pay somebody that has off that day to go to city hall meeting, take a few notes, and then get that knowledge to folks so that if there's something coming up, we're involved and we know so that we can either vote in, vote out, do what we do.
And then also just highlight the importance of the communities, the importance of where we're at. Northwest quadrants. Understand what's around the Northwest quadrants. I-95, 595, Fort Lauderdale International Airport, US 1, 441, Miami's not too far. The train station, Los Olas is not too far. So you're in prime real estate. So we're understanding that, you know, a lot of us growing up, we were like, well, our communities is whatever, you know, it's the streets, it's trapping, and all this other stuff. But it's also understanding the beauty of where you're at and understand why is this happening. And we're just aiming to understand why. And again, it's just to get involved, you know, politically, socially, economically. We have to be able to get involved, you know, because it's a multi-layered aspect of gentrification. So it's
So I'm with the City of Hollywood as well. My name is Deborah Case and I'm the Vice Mayor. And hi everyone. And we have the Hollywood African American Advisory Committee that you should also connect with. Very good group that does a lot of research for things that the commission is wondering about, you know, and it's going to affect the Black community. So that's an awesome outlet for them as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
I just want to, again, thank you. I think you guys are awesome. You guys are being role models for a lot of our community, role models for me to look up to, and very inspiring. So I just want to go ahead and give that back to you guys. But I also wanted to say something that was also really empowering for me to watch in this video was the portion where he spoke about how it just seemed like a village and they got together to create that hospital and fund themselves. And I think that's part of the solution of keeping our culture alive, that we kind of come together. Kind of reminded me of the Black Wall Street in a sense, that, you know, they kept the money in the community, within the families, you know what I mean? So I think maybe that could be part of the future goals, is like educating our kids and even young adults and millennials on how we can be more active economically, take advantage of the fact that this is a fabulous state. We can grow out of that, you know, but it's being aware of that and continue to push things like this that inspire and let us know that our role models, like, this is not so far away. You know, we get so disconnected from history sometimes, and we think that it's so far away, but it's like, you know, these people are still alive and they still have stories to share, and that we just need to go out there and get connected to that. So just thank you. This is amazing. Thank you.
To that point, you know, it's definitely imperative to empower economically, and knowing the history will definitely empower those, because if you were to know that, oh, okay, well, you know, we had a Paradise Club here where James Brown would frequent and many other greats would frequent, even some local people like David Newby Sr. in the jazz band would frequent. It would inspire people. If they knew that, okay, we had a movie theater in our own community, it would inspire people. So that's just one of the things of knowing the history and tying it into economically. If you were to know more about your community and the importance that it had, you would be inspired more to do better in your community more. Because sadly, a lot of the youth don't even notice a lot of the stuff that was once there. So again, it's important to bridge the gap between the millennials and the pioneers, and this is just one aspect that we definitely can do.
Yeah, we're going to take one more question.
Did any students or young people work with you on the film?
Unfortunately, we haven't had students come in yet. That's again a plan that we'd love to get going as we finish up the project. However, going to add it in filming, we were talking to guidance counselors about being able to at least show something similar to what you all saw today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, there's also Broward County, this library having the African American History Month National Hair Presentation over here. So you feel free. It's Thursday, February 27th from 5 to 6.
Everyone, I just want to take one quick minute to welcome you all to the Sterling Road Branch Library. I know for some of you, it's your first time here. We are a vibrant, community-oriented library. We would love you to play a role in our library. We have book fairs, we have a friends organization that is committed completely to partnerships with our community. Our partnership with the Historical Society is one program, but we are here for you. If any of you have ideas on how our library can continue to be a place where we can dialogue and talk and plan, we're here, and I'd love you to come and talk to me later. Welcome to our library. Please don't be strangers. Thank you so much.